You know, it's been a while since I've killed off a main character in one of these stories. Hi guys, welcome back to What If, where I tell stories altering the Wings of Fire timeline. Today we're talking about what might happen if Scarlet had beat Ruby in the duel for the throne. This actually ended up changing both more and less than I expected. Also, I just want you guys to accept the new normal. These videos are going to be long. I'm so sorry. My hands have a mind of their own, and I'm literally unable to command them anymore. Also, this is just a reminder that I have Wings of Fire mystery boxes available right now in my store. This is a Christmas special I do where I offer surprise assortments of Wings of Fire merch, and this year, everything in the boxes is entirely new. I've got lots of neat stuff in them, including a new ship keychain, so if you're looking for a good Christmas gift to put on your wish list or give to a friend, consider checking them out. There's a link in the description if anyone is interested. All thoughts of potentially enchanted earrings flew from Peril's mind when the thump of Ruby's body hitting the ground echoed through the courtyard. Screams erupted, some cheering, others wailing, as chaos flooded the crowd. Scarlet beat her wings to rise into the air, scarred face twisted with glee. Peril could see Chameleon grinning from where he sat as sore. And she could see Cliff bursting into tears. Maybe, Peril thought distantly, I shouldn't have let him watch this. Then she realized she needed to run. She had to warn Clay, because if Scarlet was queen again, then he was in danger. And all his little awful friends, too, she supposed. Peril's eyes darted back to Cliff, who was trying to push through the crowd to his mother's body, and she winced. Actually, he should probably go, too. Scarlet hadn't shared any especially kind plans for her grandson. Space opened around Peril like always as she darted forwards, and where it didn't, dragons hissed and shouted at burns on tail tips or wings. Unable to physically grab Cliff, Peril landed in front of him. He careened to a stop, then scrabbled around her, making use of the new emptiness to head for Ruby. "Cliff, wait," Peril shouted. She spun to chase him. Should she push him? If she burned him a little tiny bit, would he pay attention? Or would it make everything worse? What would Clay do? Probably not burn a dragonette, she thought. Should she just leave him? "Peril!" she heard her name shouted and stopped, looking around wildly in the chaos of flapping wings. Turtle's green scales stood out in the red and orange, exactly like a dragon who wanted to get killed in a frenzy. "What are you doing here?" Peril demanded, distracted from Cliff, who'd reached Ruby's body. "We came to rescue you," Turtle shouted. Peril could see Keebly behind him now, and the unmistakable white and black of the other two as well. "We have to run," Keebly said, voice grim and hard to make out over the growing clamor surrounding them. "Yes, yes," Peril agreed. She pointed to Cliff, who was crouched by Ruby's body. Any minute now, Scarlet was going to notice him and swoop down like a hawk snatching up a rabbit. Someone needs to grab the prince. To say that they escaped the Sky Kingdom without incident wouldn't be honest. There had definitely been some burning and some venomous tail stabbing and some mind-reading of best escape routes. But Scarlet had been distracted by her power grab. Several of Ruby's supporters, desperate to keep Scarlet from returning to the throne, had attempted to kill her. That had prompted Scarlet's own supporters to retaliate, and the entire arena had collapsed into fighting that helped obscure the non-Skywing sneaking out with the prince. They'd flown back to Jade Mountain Academy. Peril needed to warn Clay, and Keebly had pointed out that the Dragonets of Destiny weren't the only ones in danger if Scarlet was back in power. That made sense. Peril doubted Scarlet would love the concept of a bunch of dragons from different tribes making friends in her mountains. There hadn't been much time to catch up or explain what had happened. Peril hadn't told them about her father, or the spell he'd put on her. Just that Cliff was Ruby's son, and that they had to keep him safe from Scarlet. Peril wondered, as they flew, how her own life might have been different, if someone had scooped her up and kept her safe from Scarlet. Cliff, unable to keep up with their escape, had been carried first by Keebly and then grudgingly by Winter as they returned to the mountain. And now they were back, and Peril had to tell Clay that everything he'd worked towards was about to be over. They found Sunny first. It was late afternoon, and she was sitting in the entry hall with Fatespeaker, the two of them talking quietly and staring at the horizon. So the two of them saw their hasty approach. Sunny jumped to her claws and ran to them, saying something about running off and how dare they and communication, but Keebley stopped her. "Sunny," he said, interrupting her, "Scarlet's back, and she defeated Queen Ruby. We need to get everyone out of the school, now." Sunny flinched back at the words, staring at Keebley in disbelief. "Scarlet?" Fatespeaker demanded. "Queen Scarlet now," Winter snarled. "Come on, we need to hurry." "Stop yelling," Sunny squeaked, regaining some control over her surprise. "Keebley, what happened? How do you know that? What—" "Sunny," Moon said softly, but urgently. "We were there. We saw it. The Skywings are fighting amongst themselves right now, but once Scarlet has control again, we know who she'll go after first. You need to send all the students home." Sunny's wings drooped. "You're right," she breathed. "We need to go talk to the others. Don't tell anyone else yet," she added. "If they panic, someone might get hurt. We'll handle this somehow." She spun and rushed deeper into the caves. "I'll get Tsunami and Clay," she shouted over her shoulder to Fatespeaker. "Come on," Fatespeaker beckoned them. "Starflight's in the library with Webs. We'll meet Sunny and the others." They hurried deeper into the school. The halls were nearly empty. Peril supposed most of the dragonettes would be in the prey cave. Perhaps that was where Tsunami and Clay were? At least she didn't have to avoid too many dragons in the halls. Moon trotted along behind Cliff, hurrying him along to keep up with the bigger dragons. Once they met with the Dragonettes of Destiny, Fatespeaker, and Webs, Peril explained what had happened. She explained meeting her father, who was some kind of animus. When she described his jewelry, Moon seemed particularly worried. Peril supposed it was because they'd found out who the Nightwing who'd attacked Kinkajou was. Then Peril described Ruby and Scarlet's duel for the throne, and how Ruby had lost, leaving Cliff as her only dragonette, which meant there was no other Skywings eligible to challenge for the throne. "We need to send everyone home," Keebley reminded them, once Peril had finished. "Scarlet's too dangerous, and she'll go after you four first." Tsunami lashed her tail, hissing. "She can try," she growled. "With her army," Winter added. "You're in her territory. You can't possibly be thinking of fighting her." The look on Tsunami's face said she was. "What about you?" she demanded, turning on Peril. "Why didn't you just join her again?" "Seriously?" Peril gaped. "I just told you about how she made my dad put a spell on me. And I'd never do that," she shouted. "Guys," Clay broke in, "we've got way bigger problems right now." He shot a look at Tsunami, and Peril huffed smoke. "Why can't you just go kill Scarlet?" Tsunami continued, ignoring Clay's look. "Didn't you hear us?" Keebley interrupted. "She has some kind of animus. He already removed Peril's fire scales once." "With a necklace," Tsunami countered. "He won't get close enough to do it again," Peril growled. "We don't know his limits, though," Keebley argued. "Animus dragons can do anything. We don't know if he's like that, or if his powers are any different." "Well," Moon interrupted, voice timid. "Even if he can't enchant Peril, he could still enchant Scarlet," Starflight broke in. "Or maybe even the entire tribe. He could make them immune to fire scales." Peril lurched in sudden fear. Could he? Would he? She imagined herself in the Sky Palace, surrounded by dragons who were suddenly immune to her fire. Scarlet could kill her, or capture her, or something worse. Everyone fell into silence for a moment as Starflight's words sank in. "She's had this animus the whole time," Sunny said. "Why didn't she use him to win the war?" "Maybe he wouldn't," Turtle said. "Or couldn't, like Anemone," he added. Tsunami ground a talon into her forehead. "Moons," she cursed. "An enemy's going to want to fight him." "Let's refocus," Clay said. "We do need to evacuate. Once the students aren't in danger, we can figure out what to do about Scarlet." "I can take the Sea Wings home," Webs cut in for the first time. "Of course," Tsunami sneered. "You're eager to get away from any danger." "It's a long flight," Webb sniffed, "and they've only traveled it once before. Besides, someone needs to warn Queen Coral in the coastal villages." "He's right," Starflight said. "Scarlet may try to restart the war for spite. We need to spread the word as fast as we can. Starflight and I can take the Rainwings and the Nightwing students back to... Starflight and I can take the Rainwing and Nightwing students back and warn Glory, Fatespeaker offered. And I'll go home with the Sandwings and tell Mother, Sunny said. I'll go with you, Keebley offered. I'll go with the Mudwing students, Clay said. No, Peril interrupted. You will not. Clay frowned. I want to make sure they make it safely, he argued. Too bad, Peril shot back. Scarlet wants you dead, not them. They live practically next door. They can find their own way home. She's right, Starflight added. Without you, they're probably less of a target. And the Mud Kingdom is very close to the Sky Palace. They can travel with us through the rainforest and go from there. That'd be safest. Clay nodded. Then I can go with you, he said. And you can come with me, Sunny said to Tsunami. And we'll meet you at the rainforest after, she added. The Icewing students could fly with us as far as the Sand Palace. Then that just leaves the Skywing students, Keebley said. Silence for a moment. Do you think any of them will want to go back to the Sky Kingdom if Scarlet is queen? Clay asked. Moon clawed at the stone anxiously. A couple of them might, she said. Flame won't. We'll have to let them decide, Sunny said hopelessly. We can't force them one way or another. Flame will probably go to the Talons, Webb said. The others could always go with him. Peril was glad she didn't have to go hide with the Talons of Peace. Ew. She would go with Clay to the rainforest and bring Cliff with her. Tsunami turned for the entrance. Well, let's not waste any time, she said. The sooner we go, the sooner we get to the part where we kill Scarlet. Not everything went to plan. The remaining Icewing students left in a huff as soon as they heard the news, promising to warn Glacier about Scarlet being reinstated by her champion. Which Peril didn't appreciate. It wasn't her fault she was back. An enemy nearly left to go fight Scarlet, as Tsunami had predicted, but luckily between her and Turtle they managed to convince her to return home and help guard the Sea Kingdom against any potential spells. But then Tsunami lost the fight to make Turtle go home himself, so Peril figured she only got about half of what she wanted there. All of the Skywings said they were going with Flame to the Talons of Peace, but later 2 of them snuck out and left, presumably to return to Scarlet. Only one ended up leaving with Flame. The journey to the palace from the school would take several days, though, so Peril decided she didn't need to chase them down and kill them. By the time they told Scarlet anything, everyone would be long gone. And it wasn't like the Queen didn't already know where the Dragonettes were. Finally, though, everyone had flown away. Sunny and Tsunami with the Sandwing students, Keebley and Winter, who'd refused to go with his fellow Icewings or even to see them before they left, for some reason, and everyone else heading for the rainforest. Peril thought they made an odd sight. So many dragons from different tribes leaving together as the sun set and the sky faded into darkness. They had a long flight ahead of them, traveling along the southern coast. As teachers and students alike flew home, the news was on everyone's tongues. Scarlet is back, and with some kind of animus shapeshifter. Queen Ruby is dead. What happens now? According to Queen Glory, what happens now is she goes to the Sky Kingdom and assassinates the Queen. Absolutely not, Deathbringer shouted, as soon as she made that particular nonchalant expression. Peril shifted on the rock she was sitting on, trying to laugh without accidentally setting everything on fire. It'd been 2 weeks since the duel now. Cliff had stopped crying for Ruby and started swearing eternal revenge, which Peril thought was a good and healthy path to move down. It was only too bad someone else was probably going to kill his grandma before he got the chance to try himself. They'd reached the rainforest. The Mudwing students had continued home, and Sunny, Tsunami, Winter, and Keebley had returned quickly and safely from the Kingdom of Sand. They'd brought news that Scarlet and scores of soldiers had been seen at Jade Mountain Academy, and that they'd been able to see the smoke for miles and miles. But so far, burning the school was the extent of Scarlet's violence. Why not? Glory was demanding. Peril tuned back in. This was a very entertaining argument. I'll just sneak in and get the other half of her face. And this time I won't miss. For the record, Tsunami lifted a claw gleefully, I love this plan. No way, Deathbringer stomped a foot. Like a dragonette, Cliff giggled beside her, and Peril leaned down to wink at him. Well, Peril said, it would be poetic justice. Glory lifted an eyebrow expressively, not quite ending her argument with Deathbringer, but pausing it long enough to appreciate the support. What if she kills you? Deathbringer fumed. What if someone sees you? It's not infallible. What about her animus dragon? What if he casts a spell on you? Do you have any idea how many ways that could go wrong? I don't like the idea of you going into the Sky Palace alone, Clay said, tone placating. Even if you're very capable, he added. If you're alone, how would any of us help you? Sunny fretted. That is so not happening, Deathbringer interrupted again. Glory narrowed her eyes at him. After a long moment of silence, she went on. Well, we can't stay here, she said. The Rainwings aren't ready to defend the entire rainforest from an invasion, which is what will happen if Scarlet thinks we're here. She wouldn't have to, Keebley pointed out. She could just burn the forest down. Everyone considered that in silence for a moment. So we can't stay here, Sunny said. Where can we go? The Kingdom of Sea, obviously, Tsunami said. Where only you can breathe? Starflight asked. You could hide on the islands, Tsunami argued. There's nowhere we could actually stay hidden now that the Summer Palace is gone, Turtle said. Not above water, anyways. The argument didn't end there. Clay suggested the Kingdom of Sand. After all, it was just a tunnel away. But Keebley explained that after 20 years of civil war, nobody was more shattered than the Sandwing tribe, and Thorn had her talons full just trying to consolidate her power and hang on to her new throne. Inviting war with the Skywings would mean disaster. They couldn't hide with the Icewings, even if the reclusive tribe would allow them to. Peril was beginning to wonder if there was anywhere the Dragonettes could hide, when Moonwatcher spoke up. What if we went to the old Nightwing Kingdom? She asked. The volcano? Sunny asked. I hate that place, Tsunami said. Though I guess you'd never think to look there. No, Moon said with a shudder. I mean the old Nightwing Kingdom, where they lived before the volcano. And where's that? Glory asked skeptically. West, Winter said. We met a Nightwing, Keebley explained, named Foeslayer. She told us where the old Night Kingdom was. In fact, we were going to meet her there. Nobody's been there in hundreds of years, Moon said softly. If we hide there, nobody would think to look for us. It would buy time. Then how do you know about it? Tsunami asked. Foeslayer, Keebley shrugged. And how did she know about it? Deathbringer broke in. I've never met anyone named Foeslayer. It's a long story, Keebley said, and it can wait until after we decide what we'll do. So we go there, Glory shrugged. Deathbringer can stay here and lead the tribes, and I'll go kill Scarlet in the meantime. Hilariously, it seemed like poor Deathbringer was so torn at which statement to counter first, the idea of him staying behind while Glory left, or Glory attacking the Skywing Queen alone, that he lost the power of speech entirely, sputtering and flexing his wings in helpless shock. The plan was to leave the next morning. Glory was giving a Rainwing named Grandeur the rundown on how to defend the rainforest, since Deathbringer had explained, in very clear, very small words, at volume, that he would not be abandoning his queen, while the others rested after their long days of flight. They would go to the abandoned Kingdom of Night, and once they were safe, they'd figure out what they'd do about Scarlet, if they could do anything at all. Deathbringer was helping her organize the defense, offering his extensive experience on sneaking into places to help the Rainwings and Nightwings keep enemies out. But Peril was beginning to see a pattern, and the pattern was their plans were just not working out lately. Because the next morning when they woke up, Deathbringer was laying in some bushes, a sleeping dart protruding from his scales, and Glory had disappeared. Sunny used the obsidian mirror, a freaky mirror that let her spy on dragons, to look for Glory. A pale blue wisp of smoke drifted over the glass, but did nothing to actually reveal to them her position. Well, we have to go get her, Tsunami said, wings flared with frustration. I didn't mean it when I said I liked her plan, she defended herself to Sunny's worried look. Scrambling to figure out how to handle everything, they eventually split their group. Tsunami and Clay accompanied a groggy, furious, worried Deathbringer north to look for their errant friend, while the rest of them proceeded with the previous plan to head west. Peril, personally, thought there was a good chance Glory would do it, and they could all go back to business as usual. And she wasn't at all a fan of letting Clay go off by himself, with those other dragons, to try and find her. But as he explained to her, Peril was rather conspicuous, even if she was also the most dangerous and fastest dragon around. But he asked her to take care of the other dragons and meet him at the Night Kingdom. So Peril would protect his little friends if that's what he wanted. She'd give him a reason to be proud of her when he saw her again. And next time, she thought, I'll argue better to convince him not to go. The flight back west along the coast was easy for Peril. She spent much of it scouting ahead of the group, bored waiting for the others to catch up with her, and instead making wide loops around the others. Every night, Sunny used her mirror to check on Glory and the dragons who'd gone to track her down. They'd heard a few tidbits of news, and a riveting argument between Tsunami and Deathbringer about the claw marks on a tree branch they'd come across, but nothing from Glory. Sunny and Starflight were taking turns with another animist talisman, a blue stone shaped like a star they clutched in the evenings. But whatever they were trying to accomplish with it must not have worked, because they never shared anything helpful with the group. Finally, after days of flight and complaints from the others, mostly from Cliff and Turtle, they reached the abandoned Kingdom of Night, a tiny peninsula jutting into the sea, inhospitable and lonely in the stiff wind. It was secluded behind a range of tall mountains and cliffs, though, and seemed like it'd been ignored for centuries, so Peril supposed it was as good a hiding place as they could find. Bored of the anxiety and fear plaguing their little band, Peril took Cliff exploring through old buildings, ravines, wild forests, and bone-white beaches, offering helpful advice while he outlined his plans of revenge. The little dragonette was creative, if diminutive. Peril was impressed with some of his suggestions. "And then," he said, claws raking furrows in the sand as he gestured wildly, "I take the sack and I feed it to alligators." "That's an excellent plan," Peril giggled. "Only I don't think we'll find a sack big enough to stuff Scarlet into anywhere in Pyria." "Oh," Cliff said, snout falling into an expression of devout seriousness. "Well, I guess that won't work then." "Probably not," Peril commiserated. She glanced up as Turtle appeared in the air, gliding down to the beach from one of the higher cliffs. "Oh, look," Peril said. "I'm sure Turtle would love to hear some of your ideas." Turtle landed with a spray of sand, tail lashing. "They're back," he said. Keebly and Winter saw them in the air from one of the towers. "Did they kill Grandma?" Cliff demanded, launching to his talons. "I don't know," Turtle said. "I came to get you two." "Let's go find out," Peril said, frowning. Maybe the bitey Rainwing had killed Scarlet, and they could all go back to normal and stop eating horrible fish and rattlesnakes. The flight back to the highest cliffs, where old towers lay in various states of crumbling ruin, was short. Little Cliff powered along doggedly, and Peril and Turtle glided slowly to let him keep pace. Tiny multicolored specks were gathered in a clump below, resolving into dragons as Peril spiraled down lazily. Grass hissed and crumbled to ash as she landed heavily, tail curling close to her talons to minimize the damage. Tsunami and Clay were the only dragons standing amidst the group. Tsunami looked like she'd been caught in a hurricane and tried to fly through it, scales ragged and fluffed like a deer with wet fur. Ragged claw marks slashed along her underbelly, with dried blood flecked and cracking on her scales. She had the worn, thin look of someone who hadn't slept in days. Clay looked even worse. His eyes were bloodshot, one swollen thanks to a long, thin cut slashed under one eye, like a spear or a sword had come very close to taking an eye out. Other gashes cut through warm brown scales, one particularly large wound near his shoulder still actively bleeding. His limp was worse than usual, too, back leg twisted uncomfortably. "What happened?" Peril demanded. Tsunami glared at her. "We lost a fight, obviously," she hissed, blue eyes icy with anger. "But where's Glory?" Sunny was asking. Peril knew the answer suddenly, before either of them spoke. The look on Clay's face told her what his tongue would say next. The lost hopelessness in his red-rimmed eyes. She's dead, Clay said softly. His voice was hoarse. Starflight, standing next to Fate Speaker, flinched, knocking into her wings. Dead? Sunny cried. How? Tsunami looked at the ground, snout twisted in a snarl. She tried to kill Queen Scarlet, she said. And now Peril could pick out the pain her angry tone was masking. And she didn't make it. She's dead, Clay said again, voice empty. Glory's dead. And that'll be it for What If Scarlet Beat Ruby? I think that's a reasonable place to call it good, right? Okay, I'm joking, don't worry. This What If really got away from me, and I didn't want to post a What If that was an hour long. So a part 2 for this will be dropping in 2 weeks. I know, it's a terrible cliffhanger. How did Glory die? Where's Deathbringer? How are they going to defeat Scarlet? But don't worry, I'll post the end of the story in 2 weeks and we can all find out together. Again, I just wanted to remind everyone that I do have mystery boxes available right now in my store. They're super cool and they all have brand new content and extra free stuff thrown in, all packed up nice and pretty, just waiting to make a perfect Christmas present. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, go ahead and check out the link in the description and the pinned comment. If you enjoyed this What If, I have dozens more on my channel, most of which don't end in horrible cliffhangers. Some of which don't end in horrible cliffhangers. Anyways, if you enjoyed this What If, and if you want to throttle me for ending it like that, I'm not sorry. This is actually hilarious to me. Tune back in 2 weeks from now, and I'll wrap this all up with a bow. Don't worry. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a blessed day.